Los Angeles and San Pedro Railroad. The first railroad in Southern California, the Los Angeles and San Pedro Railroad, was built in 1869, the year of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad system. Railroads, combined with the development of the aqueduct system in the 1920s under William Mulholland, and further infrastructure built in the 1960s under Governor Pat Brown, turned a former cow town of a couple thousand people into the largest metropolis in the country, with a population of over 9.8 million people. The launch of the Los Angeles and San Pedro is due largely to two people: former California Governor John Gately Downey and Phineas Banning. Downey, a politician who voted against his own party for keeping California in the Union during the Civil War, a man against business monopoly for the common good, the first banker in the Los Angeles area, businessman with a far-reaching vision of transformation of this empty area of the world, and negotiated for the entry of the Southern Pacific Railroad into Los Angeles. Banning, as the shrewd developer who pushed the development of the port of San Pedro and the building of the railroad as key to the growth of Los Angeles versus the schemes of the South Pacific and their port at Santa Monica. The necessity of rail was of crucial importance, since cargo and passengers moved between the harbor and Los Angeles in wagons, ox carts, and stagecoaches along the wagon road, which was little more than a rutted path. As with the western half of the Transcontinental Railroad, all steel for the rails had to be shipped around South America from Germany. The railroad's first locomotive was a tiny four-wheel locomotive called the San Gabriel. The locomotive was one of two small pony engines built several years earlier by the Vulcan Iron Works of San Francisco for the Napa Valley Railroad, which had found them too light for their service. It was purchased for the construction of the line and arrived by ship from San Francisco at the Wilmington Wharf on January 12, 1869. On September 8th, the tracks were completed to the railroad's new depot at the corner of Alameda and Commercial Streets. To celebrate the formal opening of the line, Banning and the railroad directors invited all of Los Angeles at the depot on October 26th, following the arrival of the railroad's second and larger locomotive, the Los Angeles. Over 1,500 took the excursion. The Los Angeles and San Pedro Railroad provided an efficient overland route linking Wilmington and Los Angeles. Sold in 1873 to the Southern Pacific Railroad as part of the bargaining by Downey to get them into Los Angeles. The Los Angeles and San Pedro Railroad continued to operate as part of the Southern Pacific until the name was dropped in 1875. Not until the 1980s merger of the Southern Pacific Railroad and the disappearance of industry along Alameda Street did the right-of-way fall into disuse. Today, a small portion of the original right-of-way is still in place, starting at 4th and Alameda and ending at Olympic Boulevard, along with numerous industry spurs along the route. South of East 24th Street, the former right-of-way was transformed into the Alameda Corridor, a huge concrete-lined ditch built in the 1980s and wide enough to hold 3 rail lines.
Hello. So it's time to have a little history lesson into the early history of Los Angeles and California. And I thought appropriate, started here at Union Station. If I can get it straight. Because railroads have certainly been a very important part of the early development of California. Alright, so let's go. We're going to start at the San Pedro and Los Angeles Railroad, just a block from here. Alright, in this area was where the first railroad was built in Los Angeles. The LA and San Pedro was built from this location to the docks in San Pedro. So that LA finally had a connection to a port back in 1969, near the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. Alright, now at the corner of 2nd and Alameda. And it's at this point that you first start to see railroads. This went into a spur into the former industrial areas, which is now owned by the Office Depot. But that right there, as difficult as it is to see, remnants of the railroad built in 1869. But that's it right there. It's like I said, the remnants of the San Pedro in Los Angeles. With a little spur track to service former industries along the side here. One of the spurs into the produce market. These things that would probably run for decades. And here at Olympic Boulevard, is the end. That's it. Where it gets cut off. So this is the start in the north of the Alameda Corridor, which was a huge project for California and the major railroads involved, of having just this huge corridor to get down to the port, Los Angeles. And that's what it involves. Just a underground track heading down to the port. It was one of the biggest projects back in the 1980s when they built this. Pretty damn impressive. Whole streets right on top of the railroads, under these huge concrete arches. Damn, it's a big project. Get some Spanish concert over here.